Today in the Diz List, we discuss the top 5 things to know before you go on your trip to Walt Disney World.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that ranks everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 48, where we discuss the top 5 things to know before you go on your trip to Walt Disney World.
Before we get to the list, I'd just like to take a moment to ask everyone to go to Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, follow us. We're at DizListPod.
Is TikTok still legal?
I mean, for the time being, I think. But
keep going.
Yeah, they keep putting those challenges up there. Probably not. So the other one is, if you've really been enjoying the show, we are live on Patreon now. www.patreon.com/DizListPod to go and check that out. We have early access to new episodes, all ad-free. Additionally, we do at the Jungle Skipper level, we offer bonus content, which will be releasing not on Wednesdays, trying to make sure that everybody gets their dose of the Diz List sort of spread out throughout the week. You know, if you don't get enough of us, then you should go check that out. What do you think about that?
I think our wives are gonna listen and go, well, I've had about enough of these too.
Yeah, exactly. They are not subscribers.
No, we love our wives.
Yes. So this is actually, we're recording this about almost a full week after we recorded the main part of the episode.
Yeah.
This episode is featuring two of our favorite fellow podcasters, Katie and Aaron from Rope Drop and Park Hop. We had such a blast when we recorded with them that we invited them onto our show. It was a great time recording with them, and I did so from the back of my pickup truck.
Now, why did we have to do that?
So we got the brilliant idea, and I think it was a good idea because everything turned out really well.
Yeah, I mean, luckily we ran a couple tests when we got them on the call.
Yeah, so we have two audio interfaces for you audio files. All that means is that we have two things we can plug our mics into, and so we were plugged into two different computers but we were in the same room. Normally we use one interface, and so there's no echo or feedback. And
we're in the same room for people that don't know that. Like I can look over and see Nick, and he can see me. We're 6 feet apart.
Right, but when we're recording with guests, we're doing so remotely, like they're remote. So we decided to do this to get separate audio tracks, or whatever. And there was a lot of echo on their end, they said. So we were like, hold on. So I packed up all my stuff. Ran into my truck, turned on my truck because I have Wi-Fi, and sat and recorded in the front seat of my truck. They posted a picture, like a screenshot of the thing, and it's like, wait, Rob and Nick are not recording in the same place, and Nick looks like he's like driving around.
What is he going? Is he going through the McDonald's drive-through?
Yeah. So I'm sitting there with my mic and my headset in the front seat of my truck, with it running for 45 minutes while we record, but surprisingly, the audio turned out really well. So I think it was just one of those funny moments where it was like, hold on. And I do think that being a teacher made it easier for us because instead of panicking, we drop back and punt.
Yeah.
Because
we do it all the time.
How often does our tech go wrong?
Yeah.
And not because of our IT guy, but just because
it just happens.
Yeah, it just happens. Like the file you want to show doesn't load up or whatever. Right. So I thought that was pretty funny. And we had a good time, and I can't wait for you guys to hear the second half of this episode with Rope Drop and Park Hop. If you haven't gone and checked them out, you really should. Over on Instagram and over on Spotify and over on Apple Podcasts. They are great. They have a really uplifting Disneyland podcast that is a lot of fun to listen to.
If you're in a grumpy mood or you need to be cheered up, the two of them are just so happy and I don't know. I just really enjoy listening to them, and they do a lot of Disneyland content. But more recently, they've been doing Disney cruise content, Disney World content. So they do a little bit of everything.
Well, Katie's a travel advisor, so I think that helps that she sees all the aspects of it.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to talk about also in the top half, and I'm kind of glad we're recording as late as we are for this. What happened this weekend, Rob?
Well, Rock and Roller Coaster went down, and every time, closed, didn't go down. It goes down on a regular basis. Going down essentially means like there's something wrong with the ride and it's going back up. When they close it for refurbishment, usually especially with Rock and Roller Coaster, we get excited because we're like, all right, who's the band going to be? Who are they going to put in there? So I'll let you elaborate on the details, and I'll tell you what I think.
Yeah, so
new one.
I really, really was hoping that this was going to be closed and open back up and not be Aerosmith. Not that I hate Aerosmith, but I think the Muppets should have been in there. I think Electric Mayhem would have been awesome.
I'm still down with that. And they have a new show, which I haven't watched yet, but I will. My son and I love Muppets. Have you seen it yet?
I have not, which is why, though, I thought, because there was like a magazine that posted a picture of them, and they were in the recording studio. They were in that studio. Like everything, it was the Aerosmith Rock and Roller Coaster recording studio.
They could have taken that footage and put it in.
Well, see, here's the thing. I think that one thing with this ride about changing that over, you could literally do it overnight. Like they could not say a word, and one day you show up, Aerosmith isn't on the guitar, and now it says Muppet Electric Mayhem.
Yeah.
And you walk in, and it's all Muppet, because they wouldn't have to change anything but the video and the soundtrack.
Well, my newest thought is based on what they've ended up doing with Cosmic Rewind, and they have kind of a shuffle of different songs. So with Rock and Roller Coaster featuring Aerosmith, they obviously are paying Aerosmith for use of their name outside the building, not technically their logo, because they do it in a different font outside the building. It's just like this bold font underneath it.
Yeah, it's not the Aerosmith proprietary one.
And they're using their likenesses in the video every single day. So they have to pay them for that. They have to pay them for rights of the music. So I'm wondering if they can do something similar to what they do. And I don't know the legal thing behind it. I just know that you have to pay an artist a certain percentage for every time it plays. It's like when it goes on the radio or Spotify.
Yeah.
So my thought was it could just be Rock and Roller Coaster, and they could be songs that rotate through. So why not, 6 songs, right? Similar to what I'm pretty sure Cosmic Rewind has 5, 6, or 7, something like that.
Yep.
Different at Christmas time. Let's say they get 5 different rock tunes. Could be, I don't know, I'm just off the top of my head, Queen, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, whatever, right?
Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters, throw in anybody, right? Tons of great big time groups you could put in there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what the cost of that would be, paying those 5, 6 groups, versus how much do they have to pay Aerosmith for usage of their likenesses on the video, plus the use of their name. There would be no name. It wouldn't say featuring Metallica. You would go in, the ride starts, all of a sudden you're hearing Enter Sandman while you're going around.
I would assume that it would be more expensive.
Because you're paying 5 different groups.
Well, that, and I believe that there would probably be an initial cost.
Sure.
So like your initial upfront, like signing bonus, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas they don't have to pay Animal anything, because Animal already plays the drums for Disney.
Right, and Disney owns that. Right, and that's an easy fix.
Right.
This is the first time I've thought of this alternative.
I thought you mentioned it the last time we talked about it too.
I don't know.
It was the multiple bands, but
I'm getting old.
Yeah, but either way, I think it's. Look, I think that I know, in fact, there are people who think that Aerosmith is a fictional band from Disney. They don't even realize they're real. Like, they don't realize that I can go to their farewell tour this summer. Is it this summer that they're playing Buffalo? Either way,
I don't know.
The tickets.
I'm not a fan of them.
Yeah, I know. I don't mind them.
And I've seen them. They did a tour with Kiss, and we were there, and we went to see him, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I just think that Disney had a chance, and they didn't take it. They could have definitely rehabbed that and turned it into a different band. But we'll see. Because it doesn't take much to make that switch. You wouldn't need to do a refurb. The good news is that the launch system apparently is what they were working on.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what was causing it to go down so frequently. So we should see less downtime of that ride.
Excellent.
Yeah. So you want to head off into the halftime shows and then come back and talk to Katie and Aaron?
Yeah. Well, our halftime show today is brought to us by a friend of the show.
Yeah.
Person we've mentioned before.
Yeah. So we have our patron shout out is Mr. Brian V. And he is also a proprietor of a wonderful pizza shop up in Rochester.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
called-
It's in Rochester, New York.
Yep.
Yeah, called Pizza Wizard.
Yep.
I've eaten there a lot. Actually, a good friend of mine, one of the guys in my band, also works there too.
Yeah,
My friend Jay.
So go check out Pizza Wizard up in Rochester and tell him the Dizlist sent you. And then you will probably get to talk to him all about Dizlist episodes because he is a loyal patron. So thanks a lot, Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks for tuning in. All right. And we'll see you real soon. Whoa, I can't say that.
No.
Jeez, people are going to think the episode's over. We'll see you
After the
real shortly.
Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and even earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. No matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. When you want to take your conversation with your fans to the next level, Q&A and polls are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Best of all, it's totally free, and there's no catch. When we discovered Spotify for Podcasters, we unlocked a door to a world where we could celebrate our passion, and we could create a community around what we love. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started.
Welcome back to the Dizlist. We're pretty excited about today. Today's episode, we're doing the top 5 things you need to know before you go. And we're here with some special guests, Aaron and Katie from Rope Drop and Park Hop. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited to have you guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
My gosh, it was so great being on your show. We just knew we had to do another collaboration and get together.
Yeah, we got a lot of positive feedback.
Enormous feedback. It was great. And I know that we had some friends that always listened to us that then jumped over and listened to you guys and vice versa. So thank you guys for having us.
And we need to hurry up and get that part 2 done where we talk about what Disneyland does better. Because I feel like
Absolutely.
There is some.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the last episode that we just recorded that will be coming out very soon. It's funny now when I go to, even though we're very Disney World centric, Nick will notice this too, that I will throw in my 2 cents with, oh yeah, and on the West Coast, blah, 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 blah. Just,
yeah, it's kind of fun when you can compare the 2 coasts and see how they run things a little differently.
And obviously it's going to be 95% Disney World, but I don't know. Just having that experience and teaching people a little bit about what it's like out on Disney, the West Coast Disneyland. I just think it's great. It's a good little selling point too. So, Aaron and Katie, welcome to the show. Love listening to your show. I was just asking you questions about something that happened last episode. So listeners, you're gonna have to tune in and find out what happened, find out about the recording time, find out about what's going on with the vehicle. But hey, you got to tune in and find out. It's very interesting, very exciting.
Right.
Always is.
There's your teaser.
The 2 of you have a great rapport. Always fun to listen to. Always makes me smile and laugh. You guys do a great job. So can you start off just by letting our listeners know a little bit about kind of what your background is with Disney and how you started doing the podcast?
Yeah. So I grew up going to Disney. My mom is from Southern California. So our family vacations kind of centered around going to visit family, and then we'd go to Disneyland. Back then it was you'd just go for the day, right? And it wasn't the long vacations that people do now. I was actually telling my son the other day, I have a very distinct memory of camping in the parking lot that is now California Adventure in the back of a camper shell on my dad's pickup. We spent the night there, and then we'd go into the park for the day and then be done. And I think tickets were around $25 for the day back then. That's aging me a little bit. But
that's so cool.
Anyway, so I've loved Disney my whole life. I'm a huge Disney movie fan, all the Disney things. I didn't actually go to Disney World until 2019 for my first time. So
Oh, wow.
Disneyland, I would say, is my home park. And I've been countless times. And so that's my Disney story. What about you, Erin?
And I grew up on the East Coast. So I grew up in upstate New York, not quite as upstate as y'all, but still. And as a kid, we used to go to Magic Kingdom. I never went to Epcot as a child, but we went to Magic Kingdom plenty. And then when I was 13, we moved to Utah. And then when I was 16, we moved to Idaho. And I, as a college student, decided we had a wedding we were going to in Southern California, and we decided to hit Disneyland for a day. And I fell in love with it. And then once I had kids and took my kids there, that's when it really, like, that was my real connection point. And so it's a place where we all, as a family, I have 3 kids now. And as a family, we all have something we love there. And it's just the one place that we can all agree on and go back time and time again and have a really great time.
That's great. I love hearing that.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing for me too, is like getting to see it go through your kids, living through your kids' eyes there is what hooked me. You know, I've told the story on the podcast before how I'm a newbie, right? 2019 was my first trip. So Katie, I think, you know, you and I are equal experience at Disney World, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
But the reality is that when you go and you see it through your kids' eyes, you know, you have to make it, every year tradition or as often as you can tradition. So,
and then what ends up happening is you create a monster like me who's, you know, been going here. I'm holding up a picture of me and Donald Duck when I was little, you know, and
cute.
I just love it. You know, it just had such a big impact on me when I was little. So taking younger kids it's a great thing. So
it is. It's magical.
And as much as we
team.
love taking our kids, we don't mind leaving them home and doing adults only trips either. So
Right.
We'll eventually get there, Rob. We'll make enough money doing this that we can take our own trip.
That you can
Probably
justify that.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
We're going to get off to our list here. And we thought this was a good list for you guys to be on with, because you have a different perspective being Disneylanders. And also because, Katie, you do a lot of it. You're a travel advisor. So I think it's important to look at it from the warnings you might give your clients, as well as like the things that we tell friends. So I'm really excited to see how this list goes out. We are going to go first to allow you guys to have the grand finale when it's time to finish it all off.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. So I think, Rob, did you want to go ahead and give our number 5 reason or things to know?
Normally on our show, Nick and I will go back and forth, but we did this one together today at work. And shockingly, we were very similar on what we had for our list, and we kind of rearranged a little bit. But as far as know before you go, what our number 5 is how are you getting there? Okay, you got to know how you're getting there. And there's multiple facets to that. And we'll kind of go back and forth on a couple of these. Is one of the biggies is the transportation from the airport is not free anymore. And we have kind of a funny surprise story. The last time we went, we booked this car service and went down to we were in Orlando Airport, went down to wait for the SUV that I booked. Positive, because I went back in and looked it up after you hear what happened. So we're waiting for our SUV to pull up, and all of a sudden a stretch limo comes around the corner. I'm like, oh, wonder if someone famous is going to get in this limo. We're looking around. There's no one around. Like the person comes out, and apparently they were there for us.
Oh.
And we got in the limo, and my wife's like, "What did you do?" Look, it says SUV right here. And then Nick, you finished this part of the story.
Yeah. So we took the same car service. I had told Rob about the car service. We show up. We have a beautiful, typical black Tahoe that's, like you'd see in a typical car service. But then when we got picked up by the limo that Rob went in. So it was kind of funny. We bookended the trip with surprise limo trips. The kids thought it was
so
awesome.
Funny. That is awesome. Well, we have a whole episode on ours because we're obviously the opposite coast. And we have a whole episode because, when you go to Disney World, you're basically flying into Orlando. There's some smaller options, right? But most everybody who's going to Walt Disney World is going to fly into Orlando. And everybody who goes to Disneyland thinks that they're going to LAX. And we talk a lot about there are 5 or 6 different airports within a 2-hour drive of Disneyland that we prefer over LAX. We actually avoid LAX. So for us, that's a great tip because it's one of our very first episodes. We talk about the different airports if you're headed to Disneyland.
Have you flown into Long Beach?
Oh, it's our favorite.
Too.
It's our very favorite.
Okay. Yeah. My buddy that I stayed with lives right in Long Beach, and we probably should have done that.
Oh, it's the best. And it's not very far from Disneyland. It's a lot closer than LAX. The airport only is 11 gates. So it's a very tiny little airport. And it's very quintessential Southern California. It's a really cute, sweet little airport. Yeah.
Long Beach is a great little city. It's great.
It is,
I didn't
agree.
realize it was its own city. And I mean, I think of the different boroughs in New York, and it actually is very much like that because there's skyscrapers in Long Beach. It's not just that. Like it's its own little city, like Brooklyn or Queens or whatever else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick, you have a few more that you want to mention here?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that, like, even once you get to the airport, once you decide, am I going into MCO or am I going into Sanford? And then once you decide how you're going to get there, there are some things that might actually cost less than you expect. Uber and Lyft are not as expensive to get to your resort as you might think. So, that's something to consider. I have not done the Sunshine Flyer or the Mears Connect, mostly out of protest because I'm still upset that they took,
Magical Express.
But, that's just me. To me, I'll pay for, if I'm going to pay for something, I'm going to ride in style and I'm going to get there before everybody and not going to have to wait in line. That's just my opinion on the whole, how to get there. But that brings us to your number 5. I'm excited to hear what you guys say is number 5 things you need to know before you go.
So this number 5 reason is why we started the podcast, to be honest. This was our motivation to start the podcast was in the thick of the pandemic, and Disneyland was about to reopen and reservations were put in place and people did not know or were not paying attention, or Disney didn't do a good job making people aware that reservations were necessary. And so Aaron and I got together and said, hey, we need to help people get ready for a Disney trip. And so this was our number 1 reason for that. And so our number 5 tip is make reservations before you go to the park, which will be going away for Disney World, right, in January.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Starting in 2024. Disneyland has yet to announce that they're doing that yet. So still reservations for Disneyland. And then to go along with that, Aaron wrote down.
Use a travel planner.
Use a travel planner.
Because it's one of the things that comes bundled in when you use a travel planner. They make reservations for you. And aside from just park reservations, dining reservations, if you want to have one of those iconic character meals, you've got to reserve it 2 months out. If you want to sit down for us again, we focus on Disneyland a little bit more, but if you want to go to Blue Bayou, which is a pretty unique dining experience, if that's something you want to do, it books quickly. So make the reservations. If you don't want the hassle of getting up in the morning to do it and having to remember and set alarms on your phone, get a travel planner to do it for you.
And then you don't have to keep track of what's 60 days out and what's 30 days out and what's 120 days out, all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think it's kind of funny that you guys have that at number 5 because we're gonna slide right in with our number 4 and piggyback and talk with you.
Perfect.
So our number 4 is actually plan. And if you're not a planner, get a travel planner because you're not gonna be able to handle it. I'm at day 68 right now. Yay! I get to make my ADRs next week, and it's one of those things where my wife is super, like, that's something she's really looking forward to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if we use a travel planner for the dining reservations, that would bother her. But I also think that even people who are going, like, I didn't even realize until just recently that as long as it's, and correct me if I say something wrong here, Katie, but is it like a 4-day park ticket? Then like you can technically go through a travel planner. You don't even necessarily have to have you guys book the rooms, right?
Right. Correct. I think at Disneyland, it's 3 days or more. Disney World is 4 days or more.
Yeah. So, I mean, like listeners who don't want to be stuck planning, because there's a lot to plan. There's a lot. Then use a travel planner. I agree. Rob, what do you have to say about the planning?
I have gone through a travel planner before and it went really well. So I went through a local friend who works through AAA and he did a lot of that for me. But the only reason I haven't recently is because I've just become so obsessed with it and I want to kind of do it all myself. And I sort of see it as a challenge. But I know that there's also people that don't want to deal with that at all. And they throw their hands up and they're like, I just want to show up and have a good time and a vacation. And that's fine too. But I honestly feel like when I got started and I went through my friend, he did such a nice job and put me at ease. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been a million times when I was a kid, but once I started going with my family, he was very helpful in letting me know what resorts to go to. Cause I didn't know anything about the resorts. I stayed with my family in Orlando and we would drive over with the family and we'd go to Disney for the day and then drive back to the house. So all the resorts are brand new to me as of the last 8-9 years that I've been going with my family. But so that's new and exciting for me. And he helped me with letting me know what the different ones are available. And he would send me quotes with, you could try this or that or this with prices. He was really, really great. So I highly, highly recommend Travel Planner. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yes. And at the risk, I mean, I don't want to sound like a commercial at all, but when you use a travel planner, you can be as hands-on or as hands-off as you want to with them. Like I have clients that still make their own dining reservations or do their own park reservations. So really just if you use a travel planner, just be upfront about what you want to handle yourself and what you'd like them to handle.
And the flip side of that coin too, is let's say you're going and you're staying at a timeshare off property and you're getting military salute tickets. Things that a travel planner is not going to do for you, but you really don't want to deal with making your own reservations. That sounds terrible. I think a lot of travel planners would offer, they do, right? They offer fee for service type of thing. So if you have a package that you're booking that has nothing to do with a travel planner, you're able to pay a travel planner to take care of those dining reservations for you. They can charge you a fee and do that. And sometimes that is just amazing and takes the weight off of your shoulders and helps you get those things done. And I know Katie specifically has an app that she uses that alerts her to when dining reservations open. So those really popular ones that you may not be able to get, that you're waiting to get, instead of checking every day, every hour, hoping to get Ohana, you're able to pass that off to your travel planner and she gets the alert on her phone when something opens and can score it for you.
That is fantastic.
I'm going to be completely honest too, is I didn't know, like I said, that I could do this. I could involve a travel planner with as little as just park tickets. And, we have friends, both through the podcast community and local friends who are travel planners that, they're small businesses. And so to me, if I want to be as hands-on as I want to be, and then if I don't get that ADR and I say, hey, Katie, I really tried to get Topolino's breakfast on this day. We weren't able to get it at 60 days, but if something pops up, and you'd possibly do it. If I've booked my tickets through you, or if I've done some of the portions through you, because for me as a DVC owner, I'm not booking a hotel package.
Right.
I'm still getting those services, and then also you're still getting supported as a small business, and so I think that's the important thing for people. And you don't feel bad that it might sound like a commercial. It should be a commercial because the reality is what you guys do is important for families who have no clue, because then the people who don't have a clue show up and all of a sudden they're standing outside of Disney World with no park reservations or with no dining reservations trying to get into, Skipper's Canteen at 6:30 at night, and it's not happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are sad stories. Yeah. And that travel planning fee is built into your Disney package. When you buy your tickets or your hotel, Disney is already charging you a travel planning fee, whether you use an agent or not.
Right. Which is why I will from now on be supporting my my friendly travel planners.
Thank you for that.
Since we kind of piggybacked off of your number 5 with our number 4 of plan, that brings us to your number 4.
Which is kind of similar in a different area. We talk about on our podcast a lot about being prepared. And part of and we're going to talk a little bit more further down our list about this, but in this particular aspect, we talk about packing a good bag and wearing good shoes. And so, which which I know you guys have talked about. And we've also discussed your shoes, Rob. We know that this is something you could use a little help in.
Nick literally was making fun of me about this a half an hour ago.
Yes, I was.
And I don't think it's ever going to go away, but it's fine. I goofed up.
Don't take your brand new Air Jordans. Is that what they were?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, don't take those. Those aren't going to work for you at Disneyland. You want to take a shoe that you're comfortable in at home, that you've broken in, something that you can spend long hours in. I've had days at Disneyland where I've walked 30,000 steps in a day. So you're going to be putting in the miles. You want to have a comfortable shoe. And then a well-packed bag is also super important. And I don't think they're as bad at Disney World. Are your straws terrible at Walt Disney World?
Oh, they're awful. They're awful.
I think Disneyland's are worse.
I don't know how they could be.
Oh, maybe they're the same. I really feel like...
I can tell you they're also not gluten-free. Right, Rob? They're not gluten-free, are they?
That's how I was waiting to jump in and say that. Yeah.
So do you get...
That's a real deal.
Yeah, the paper straws are made with, wheat paste gluten. That's how they stay solid. So
okay, so Disneyland's don't stay solid.
No.
Disneyland's do not stay solid. So I think if I remember correctly, in January, I don't remember being super complaining about the straws. At Disneyland, within 10 minutes, they're bent in half and they're falling apart. So we always talk about bring a straw, bring some snacks. A lot of people don't realize that you can enter a Disney park with snacks in your bag and with your own drinks. You don't have to. A lot of places don't allow you to bring your own food in. Disney does. So pack some snacks, pack some food, a battery pack. We love fuel rods because we can change them out at the parks and they don't weigh a lot. So just pack a really great bag and wear some really comfortable shoes.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about packing quite a bit. And we talk about the shoes multiple times because of Rob's trip to Disneyland.
And it's totally fine. And listeners are going to remember that and it's going to stick in their heads and you learn from mistakes, which is ironic because I've talked about how you need to wear good shoes. And I just, you goof up and you make mistakes and you learn and it's all good. I'm more than happy to take, the fire from Nick on a regular basis about it.
That was nice of you to do that research for everyone.
Yes.
So, Rob, you want to go ahead and give us our number 3?
Yeah, number 3. This one came to mind because of a recent story. A friend of mine, we were helping learn about Disney a little bit. It's our friend from Pizza Wizard. It's our friend Brian. I don't know if anyone listened to that episode, but so Brian sent me a message. I was actually sitting with Nick at the time, and Brian asked how he was staying at the beach club, and he wanted to know how he could get over to the monorail and get over to the Magic Kingdom. In my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's incredibly complicated. Do you have a park hopper? Can you go through Epcot? Like all these things went through my head. And I guess the reason is just know how the transportation works there. Maybe look at a map and see, okay, my hotel is here. There isn't a sidewalk to walk all the way around to the front of Epcot to take that monorail up there. That doesn't work that way. Okay, where does the Skyliner go? Which resorts does it go to? Does the Skyliner go all the way over to Disney Springs? Not yet, maybe someday. But our number 3 is on resort transportation. Get to know what you can do and what is available where. So there's quite a bit to that. Nick, you want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
I think it's even more important to not even just know about the on-resort transportation before you go, but before you book. Because like if you think, oh, I can't wait to stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge because I want to see the savannah, and then you wake up and you're like, so I have to ride this smelly bus everywhere.
Everywhere, even
it's
to Animal Kingdom.
It's the furthest away.
Yeah.
Like, it's the furthest south.
Because you didn't budget for Lyft every day, or you didn't rent a car. You're stuck with that bus, and that's not a great proposition. It's just not. That doesn't mean I don't want to stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge. It means that I'll either rent a car or budget a Lyft because I'm not going to rely on Disney buses, which are notoriously not predictable. But like, don't go into, for instance, like Rob said, don't book an Epcot hotel thinking, well, the monorail goes to Epcot, so an Epcot area hotel would have access to the monorail. It's not the way it goes. And so you just need to know ahead of time and then budget properly. Because if you have the money for the Lyft, if you have the money for the Uber or, whatever you're taking, wherever rideshare you're using, I think, that is a great way to get to places quickly, but you got to know that it's going to cost you money, obviously, at peak hours when they have that surge pricing going on. So getting to know the on-resort transportation and even within your own like hotel, like
Saratoga, if you're at Saratoga or if you're at Old Key West, the buses or Caribbean Resort. I'm going to DVCs because that's where my mind is. But like, Caribbean.
I know Fort Wilderness does for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, on resort transportation is important. What do you guys think?
I think that was my biggest fear. So we went as a family in 2021 to Walt Disney World, and that was my first time back as an adult. I went as a kid a few times, but that was my first time taking my family. We stayed off property. We rented a car. We had no issues. We just drove ourselves. But when we just went in January, that was my first time staying on property. And that was my Katie will tell you, that was the thing I was most nervous about. It's trying to figure out where to go. And it's almost like you don't understand it until you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, even if you're we stayed at several different resorts, but for example, we stayed at Pop one night. And even if you have dinner reservations at Steakhouse 71 and you've got to get to the Contemporary, there's not a bus that takes you from Pop to the Contemporary. You have to take two different. Yeah. And so it's important to kind of understand what you're doing. You can't go resort to resort on buses. It's very challenging to get resort to resort unless you're staying like on a boat route or a Skyliner route, something like that. So yeah, that's a great tip because the transportation, it's just what do they say on the Skyliner? It's twice the size of the island of Manhattan. Uh-huh. Like there's just so much ground to cover and it's not easy.
Yes. And you got to give yourself plenty of time, like you said earlier. And also Magic Kingdom is its own beast for transportation because if you take an Uber or Lyft that's not a minivan, it drops you off far away from the park. And then you still have another 15, 20 minutes to get into the park.
Yeah. You get out and you're like, where am I? Yes. Where did they just drop me off?
Right. Where does the minivan take you?
The minivan takes you right up to the gates. Well, right where the buses are.
Really? I didn't know that.
So that's a hack. Taking the minivan is a bit more expensive, but it does do that for you. I would also say is there is a sneaky way that sometimes some gate people aren't so happy with, but they do work. Is sometimes you can get dropped off at Bay Lake Tower or at the Contemporary and walk. Now, I wouldn't say that's I wouldn't say go breaking rules, but if you happen to have a reservation, for instance, at Chef Mickey's, or if you have a reservation at Steakhouse 71 for breakfast, that's a way to go there. Don't take the lift from there. That would be silly to take a lift or something from Bay Lake or from the Contemporary over to Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, that's an easy 5-minute walk.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely.
And Lyft runs minivans, right?
Yes, Lyft.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And I would say that in my experience, Lyft pricing is slightly less at Disney World. And I think that's a feature of the fact that they have a partnership with
interesting
with Disney. They were not by a lot, but it was like $2 cheaper every time I looked last summer because we did it a few times, right, Rob? I think we did three or four. And every time I looked, the lift was definitely like $3 or $4 cheaper. So
I do it pretty often. It's I don't know if I've ever even done Uber before. I think I've always just done Lyft.
Yeah, over at Disneyland, transportation wise, it's a lot simpler because the parks are right next to each other. So park hopping is super easy. If you're staying at a resort that is not walking distance, they do have a paid non-Disney sponsored transportation option called ART. That you can pay a daily fee to be able to ride a little shuttle to and from the parks. But it's pretty easy to get to know.
Well, and that's a question I see pop up on forums a lot for people who are Walt Disney World travelers heading to Disneyland. They ask frequently, how do we get from one park to the other? You walk across a football field size. It's called the Esplanade, but it's so close and so easy. And it's super easy, at Walt Disney World. One park per day works fine for me because it's such a hassle to travel between parks. And at Disneyland, I don't often go without hoppers because it's so easy to bounce back and forth between the parks. So that's another difference.
That makes sense.
All right. So that was our number 3 on resort transportation, which leads us to your number 3. What do you have?
Oh, this is our podcast title, Rope Drop.
Yes.
So we highly, highly recommend if you want to get the most out of your park day, get there before park opening. So up to an hour before park opening is ideal so that you can get through security and be towards the front of the lines waiting for the gates to open. And those first couple of hours of the park being open, it's quiet. People are not awake yet. So you get the most bang for your buck there.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we'll go into and do a little like shopping and we won't actually buy anything, but we'll walk all around and see what they have. And then we feel like, okay, good. On the way out, we know we're going to get X, Y, and Z. And then you can go, like, just like you said, go right up and go on the ride that you want. And then later, if you go in the middle of the day, it's like shoulder to shoulder and people are breathing on you and kids are running all around. So that's excellent advice is
and
rope
actually,
drop for sure.
The weather is almost always nicest in the morning too, I have to say. It hasn't heated up yet. It's usually not rainy in the morning. The rain happens in the afternoon. So that's just, it's beautiful to be there on a Disney morning, bright and early.
Definitely.
I will say, because I know that one time somebody said to me, well, so let me get this straight. You're going to wait in a line so you don't have to wait in a line. And the answer is yep. And the reason being is that the reason I'm waiting in that line is the park's not open yet. If I go at park, like if I show up at park opening and go and stand in Seven Dwarfs Mine Train line, say, and it's 80 minutes long, that's 80 minutes I'm standing in that line while the park is open, as opposed to standing for an hour, at the gates when the park's not open. I'm not missing out on anything. I'm okay standing in that line, not missing out on stuff. I'm not okay with standing in Seven Dwarfs Mine Train for 80 minutes, knowing that when I'm off that, now Peter Pan's going to be a 90-minute wait. And when I'm done with Peter Pan, now, okay, well, it's hot out. So, last summer, Splash Mountain is now an hour and a half. Now, whatever the case may be. So, yes, I will always rope drop at least one day at every park on my trip.
Well, and to add to that, Disneyland runs security a bit differently than Walt Disney World does. We don't have the pass through yet. You guys have that. We don't. You have to stop. You have to open up your bag. They look through every pocket of your bag. You have to empty your stroller out, and then you go through metal detectors. And for the first 2 hours that the park is open, no matter what time you show up during that time, there's going to be a line at security, and it's going to move slowly. Why not get there and get that done? Like you said, while the rides aren't operating, get that done so that when the rides are operating, you're ready. You're in the park. If you show up when the park opens, you're going to spend that first hour waiting in a security line, just like you could have done an hour ago. So, yeah, you make way better use of your time. And I'm not a morning person, but yeah, it's just something about Disney mornings. It smells better. I don't know. It's just lovely. It's lovely to be there.
I mean, we did a morning, I think they called it early morning magic or something. I can't remember. It was a ticketed event for Toy Story Land. We did that my first year there because, we were doing everything because we were only going once. And
famous last words.
I remember sending a picture to Rob, and it was back across like by Gertie there, the dinosaur, and the sunrise was coming. It was like you could see the sunrise, and that's when I realized, like, this was worth the ticketed event, really.
And I never used to rope drop. We used to not. We used to be the sleeper inners. And then it was kind of a bucket list thing for me. I thought, okay, fine, I'm going to do it one time just to do it. Because like I said, I don't love mornings. And I did it, and it just feels so special. And it just feels so nice and different that's the only way I do it now.
Well, what's interesting is that you guys have mentioned a couple of times in this discussion that when you rope drop, the weather is better, right? And so I think that transitions, you guys are great at segues. So we're gonna transition and segue.
Yeah.
And our number 2 is know the weather before you go. Know what it's going to be like.
Yes.
Because what it's like, Rob wrote down when he sent me his list to compare. He was like, Florida is hot as the sun. And I thought that's funny because it's obviously not quite, but it's pretty hot. But it's not. But like, it's not just that, because one of the things we just did an episode about things you need to have in your suitcase. And I said warm clothing. Like, if you don't look ahead at the weather and see that overnight, maybe it might get lower, or you're going for a Thanksgiving time trip, or you're going for a spring break trip, and there happens to be a cold snap. Know the weather before you go, because nothing can make you more miserable than not being prepared for the weather with clothes, with shoes, with sunblock, with, a UV umbrella. But I know that's something Rob always talks about, is being prepared for the sun, being prepared for the rain.
Yeah. Funny story from our last trip in Disneyland. I had the backpack with a jacket and a hoodie in there, and our family wore normal clothes, long pants and a sweatshirt. By the end of the night, I was wearing t-shirt and jeans, and all of my warm clothes were on my family members because it went from being really warm and, that the sun was really warm and it felt great. And then by the time we were wrapping up at the end of our Disneyland day, everybody was freezing. I'm pretty used to it. I can 50 degrees can walk around in a t-shirt. Doesn't bother me as much, but it bothers them. So I'm divvying up all my clothing to them. And again, I this always happens when we even go to Disney World and it's like the surface of the sun outside. Then you go into a restaurant or you go into Country Bear, and I always get, when they were little, they don't do this anymore. They go, I'm cold, and then out comes the sweatshirts, but you got to be ready for that. Some people are sensitive to temperatures.
Yeah, and Disney is happy to sell you things to fill the gaps, but
yeah. So what will they sell you, Nick? What are they going to sell you?
Yeah, they're gonna try to sell me an $80 Spirit jersey
and a poncho and an umbrella.
Gosh.
They'll sell it all to you.
Oh,
We talk
Lord.
a lot about layering because California's weather is pretty predictable. It's pretty much the same year round. It's going to be cool in the morning, nice in the afternoon, cool in the evening, little chance of rain, very little most of the time. This year's been the exception.
Mm-hmm.
But we talk about layering in the morning. I'm always comfortable in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt with something long sleeve over top. And then halfway through the day, that goes around my waist for a few hours in the afternoon. And then as soon as the sun sets, I put my long sleeve back on and I'm good to go. And so we talk a lot about layering. I know it's a little bit different when you're in Florida, but in California, it's pretty easy to do that. We've gone, though, what was it, last February? We went down for an event and it was first weekend in February, and it was 91 degrees on the day that we were there.
And we had a marathon day that day.
It was crazy.
It was rough.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But I've also been to Disney World when it was below freezing one time. January, when was that?
Same year, last year.
2022, January 20.
Yeah.
It was 32 degrees and windy, and I'm in a winter jacket in my pictures at Disney
Wow.
World. So
You never know. That's the thing, is you really do need to know what the weather is going to be, because you got to make sure you pack appropriately.
Yeah, I agree.
Or, and almost like clockwork, if you're in Disney World in the summer, that at 4 o'clock, you get a downpour for anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour, and it just pours and pours. So again, bring rain gear, bring a hoodie for when it's cold inside.
Mhm.
So yeah, weather is our number 2.
I like it.
All right.
I like good one.
So what's your number 2?
So one of my favorite tips that I share, and we've shared this on our podcast before, is as you're budgeting and as you're preparing to go, get the gift cards, buy Disney gift cards. And there's ways to save money on them. You can buy them just as part of your budget. Go to Target and get yourself a $25 or a $50 gift card every time you go through the store, whatever. But if you have a Target Red card, you're able to save 5% every time you purchase one of those. Costco and not Costco, Sam's Club. Sam's Club often runs specials. In fact, I think they might have one going either right now or it just ended. But a $200 gift card was $185, and that's a 7% savings. And so
That's a couple of churros.
that's a couple of churros. And so buying those ahead of time, you can use those to pay for your Disney Resort hotel stay. You can use those to pay for your tickets. You can use those to pay for parking. You can use them to pay for dining. You can use them to pay for souvenirs. There's so many things that you can pay for at Disney on Disney property with a gift card. And it's a great way to save some money because it's really hard to save money at Disney any other way.
Right. And you can combine your gift cards into fewer gift cards. So if you're buying a bunch of them, you don't have to take 50 gift cards with you. You can combine them down.
You can combine up to $1,000 on one gift card.
Yep.
So I am the king of this.
Okay,
Nick
I like
has been doing this for years, and
Awesome.
I pay my DVC dues with gift cards.
Oh, wow.
I pay for all of our dining with gift cards when we go, and for all of our souvenirs with gift cards. And I don't actually bring the gift cards with me to the park. I just put it on charge it to the room, and then depending on the level of hotel you're staying at. So if you're at a deluxe, I think it's $750 is the max. And then once it gets to $750, it pushes out to your credit card on file. And I think it's $500 for the other hotels. I can't remember exactly, but different hotels. So deluxe, moderate value have different thresholds at which point they'll push it out to your credit card.
And as long as you go out there before then, you can pay it down. BJ's is always 4% off. Usually twice a year, Best Buy does. You can buy up to 2 a day of the $50 cards, and they're 10% off.
Nice.
And usually credit cards that have cash back rewards do not have that blacked out. So you can actually stack that. You can do it like a 5% cash back if it's at entertainment stores that month, or if it's 3% cash back, or if it's 1%. It doesn't matter what it is. Usually you can stack that. So I am all on board for that. In fact, we did a top 5 ways to save money episode a while back, and that was on my list. I can't remember if it was number 1, but it was way up there.
It's a great way to save money.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anybody who doesn't know about it and needs to know about it, and the combining them is super easy. That website is very easy to get used to, and like just upload your stuff.
And I take a card. I take a physical card because I haven't ever stayed on Disneyland property. I just usually will stay at one of the hotels across the street. And so I don't have a way to charge it to my room and pay it off with my gift card that way. So I will always have a physical card. And one of the other tips that I always share is once you combine everything, leave a blank card with a 0 balance on your account so that if somehow you lose the card that you have on your person or it is stolen from you, you can immediately log into your account and transfer that balance onto the card that you don't have with you, that maybe you've thrown away, but your balance is safe. And then you can go purchase another $5 gift card at the counter at World of Disney and have a brand new card where you can move all of the money back to it, and you protect your money that way too.
Aaron, I knew there was a reason I liked you so much because I do the same thing. I leave an empty one in our safe in the room, but just like you say, even if it's at home, it doesn't even have to be in Florida or in California with you. You transfer it to that one, and you pick up a $5 one, and then you transfer it back, and you're fine.
Yep.
It really is a very smart way. Now they'll tell you there's warnings when you go on there. This is not a digital wallet, and this is not, don't treat it as a digital wallet, but it's as close to a digital wallet as it can get.
Yeah. And side tip to that too. We all have kids similar ages. It's a great way to curb the mom, can I get this? Dad, will you buy me this? We give our kids each a Disney gift card when we're going, and they have that value. Yeah. And that's once it's gone, it's gone. And, whether it's $50 or $100, if you spend it on day one, sorry, you have no money the rest of the time. You knew that going into it. And it's a great way for them to not beg for everything they see. Yeah,
we started doing that. I think, Rob, you do that too, right?
Yep, I do that too. And then they can ask, how much money do I have left on my card? And we could always bring it up and show them the balances. I can remember, I don't think we did this last trip, but I remember within our Disney account, there was like a regular one and then one for my daughter, one for my son.
Right.
We could open it up and show them how much money they had or how much was left or why it was 0 over and over.
Right.
It's still 0, still 0.
Yeah. And, kids are crazy and they lose things all the time. And so that also protects their souvenir money because same thing, you can transfer their money off of their card when they inevitably lose it. So I love gift cards. I think it's a great way to have spending money for Disney.
So, Rob, you want to go ahead and kick off the number one?
Why don't you guys ever drum roll your number ones?
Wait.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
We're going to debut this right now. I'm shockingly, you set us up for this.
What?
Okay, Rob, what is it?
Number 1, how my Disney experience works. That app is like, my God, you can't live without it anymore. I mean, if you show up and like you're not planning ahead and someone goes, well, you need to look on the My Disney Experience app, and you go, what's that? Everything is there. And I mean, if you're listening to this and you're saying to yourself right now, and no offense, if you're saying, I don't know what the My Disney Experience app is, it is mandatory. I mean, I don't even know how else to describe it. Everything is there. I mean, it can be your room key. If you want to purchase Genie Plus, if you want to look at regular Genie to see what's going on, all your photos are there. I mean, what else, Nick? I mean, it's everything.
The mobile ordering for food.
Oh yeah,
getting a dining reservation, checking to see if a ride is open or what ride wait times are at. It's I don't like that I have to look at my phone the entire time, but I mean, I also like that I'm efficient with it and I can do that and quickly move on. But I can't imagine showing up and not knowing that was a thing and having to figure it out.
because
Yeah.
you'd be in trouble.
That's the biggest no before you go. So much crucial stuff is there.
Mhm.
I mean, it really is.
I wish we had thought of that as our number one.
I wish that was our number one. Spoiler alert.
It is.
Oh, wait, drum roll. Throw in the drum roll now. There it is. Okay, now say it again.
We have the same thing. Play with the app before you go. Ours is not my Disney experience. It's just the Disneyland app on the West Coast.
Oh,
But
yeah.
get on there. Walk around the park. We talked to our listeners about that. Like, get in the app and walk around the park. Know that when you head left, you're going to get Indiana Jones and the Jungle Cruise. When you head right, you're going to hit Space Mountain and Autopia. Like, kind of familiarize yourself with how to mobile order.
Yes. And it'll tell you where the bathrooms are. It'll give you walking directions. If you are at Small World and you want to go to Galaxy's Edge, it will give you walking directions to where you need to go.
The only thing I'm going to tell you is that you have to, if you're trying to describe this to Rob, you can't say left and right. You have to say what the cardinal.
No, I
is
can
it
do that
east?
too.
Is it west? Is it north? Is it south?
At
Because
Disneyland,
he's a
left is west.
Yeah.
Right is east.
I'm just
straight is north.
No, and no joke.
It's a running joke.
Before we went, I memorized the layout of both parks, so I knew where
Awesome.
to
Good
go,
for you.
where everything was.
Yeah.
I'm a visual person. I teach
Yep.
art. This is how I roll. I had it all in my head. So when we go, and Nick knows because we've gone to the parks together, and someone says, "Where's such and such?" I'm like, "Okay, over here. Here we go." Just it's part of how I want to navigate. I know where everything is, and I want to memorize it in advance.
He's an explorer. He's like Magellan. He
I
needs to
love
know.
it. I love it. Well,
Map it out.
I feel better, and I feel more comfortable knowing that. Okay, I know where everything is. So if they want to go, let's go find the Nemo submarines. Okay, I know it's right over here.
You don't want to
this
find
restaurant.
those. You can skip
It's-
those.
Well, but I can find it if I need to. It's kind of on the edge over there by Small World and over by Autopia, kind of in the middle
Yes,
there, like
right in between.
So it's kind of a way for me to just relax a little bit, knowing that, okay, if we want to go there, I don't have to like scramble and look. And that's one thing I didn't mention about the app. If you can't memorize or you don't want to memorize it, you open up that app and there's that map on there for you. And it gives you bathrooms. So you got a kid who's got to go right now, or an adult, like you can open the app and see right away, okay, where can I go and eat? Where's this restaurant that we want to go to? It's
And
very
ahead of time,
handy.
you can pull up menus and you can kind of, if you're budgeting your trip, you can see what menus are offered, how much each entree is going to cost you, what you can expect to spend. I mentioned fuel rods earlier. We love fuel rod phone chargers. You can pull up all of the fuel rod kiosks, so you know where you can get your next phone charger from.
First aid stations.
First aid,
you know where to go
baby
get
centers.
a Band-Aid.
If you have a single rider in your group, if you know someone wants to go ride on their own, you can find what rides offer single riders. You can see height restrictions. I mean, it's such a user-friendly, awesome app, but don't walk into the park on your first morning and start using it then. Familiarize yourself with it ahead of time.
Yeah. And one of the features I really love on either of the apps is the search feature. For instance, we just used this the other day when we were recording. We were wondering where the beignets are. We're always on beignet watch because they keep moving them around at Disneyland while they're closing things down and renovating different things. So you can go into that search bar and type in beignets and it will populate what restaurants have beignets for you.
Yeah, I'm really excited that we matched up on our number one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, I kind of feel like that deserves a round of applause.
This is gonna go so many funny directions. You're gonna go like a hockey horn, and it's
Nailed it.
Giving me access to a Foley board is not exactly the best choice.
Or maybe it is. Maybe it's an excellent choice.
When we talk about something gross, we need to do the foghorn sound. Like when we're talking, the that one we got to add in. I like that one.
Yeah, we can add it in. I just wanted to say before we wrap things up with you guys, how excited we were to have you on the show today. We really enjoyed our time on your show. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. But we really appreciate all that you do for your listeners and making them feel a part of the Disneyland family, because I have not been to Disneyland, but when I listen to your show, I really feel like you guys draw me right in and feel like a part of that
that crew as well. So I wanted to thank you for that. I know that Rob enjoyed it for the same reasons. So thank you guys so much for being here and for having such a great quality content and great show.
It truly
Thanks.
makes
Yeah.
me happy to listen. I mean, you guys are so positive and we can see you now. And again, it's an audio medium, but you're always smiling. And even when I'm listening to you, I can tell you're having a great time and you're smiling. And, Nick and I are always
do.
kind of smirking and shooting back and forth, but a different vibe, but fits so well. I just love
Yeah,
listening to
that's
your
very
show.
nice. Thank you. And we feel the same way about you guys. We told you this
Awesome.
when we recorded with you. You have such a great, what was the word I used? I can't remember. Oh, I lose words because I'm 44 now. You have a good show. I can't remember what I said last time. I was much more eloquent.
I thought you were going to say great, big, beautiful tomorrow. That would have fit perfectly.
Before we do that, I want you guys to let the listeners know where they can find you and where they can find you on social media, where they can stream your podcast. Just kind of give yourselves a big giant plug here.
Sure. So we are on pretty much all the streaming platforms, Rope Drop and Park Hop. A Disneyland podcast, I believe is what our title says. We've been branching out into Disney World a little bit more, so that's been fun. And cruises and Adventures by Disney and all that fun stuff. So, and then on Instagram, you can find us, ropedrop.parkhop, and also on Facebook, the same. And we have a new Facebook group that has been really fun to be part of and have more discussion with our listeners. So
I'm part of
come
it.
and find us. Yay!
It's a kind of a good group. Like it's taking a
great.
life and it's fun and we're having some good conversations over there. We like it a lot.
Yeah, you put some pictures on there. It's great. It's fun to follow.
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah,
stuff.
it's pretty fun. We like it too. And we like interacting with our listeners a lot. So please come find us. It's always a good time over at Rope Drop and Park Hop.
Do you want to take a shot of that show closing?
Oh my gosh. No, now that I'm on the spot.
Okay, here we go.
It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And tomorrow is just a list away.
Tune in next time.
And we'll see you real soon.